I check the time. It's 8 a.m. and the doorbell rings. That's going to be my new boss, right on time to pick me up for work. We're carpooling today. The problem is, I'm not ready to go. I was ready to go. I was completely ready to go. But now I'm drenched in beer. I am in my mid-20s, recently moved to a new city, new job. I'm staying with one of my sisters and her husband for now. They're out of town today, so I have the place to myself. I get up, I get ready for work. I still have some time before my ride gets here, so I grab another cup of coffee, the newspaper, and I go sit in the breakfast nook. The morning sun is streaming through the window. I'm reading the comic, sipping my coffee, feeling very calm and relaxed. When I hear a short, sharp hiss, now very alert and curious, I slip into detective mode and start looking around for wherever the surprising sound came from. I hear another hiss, and my attention is drawn to this big 5-gallon water jug sitting on the table, the kind that sits on top of a drinking water dispenser. Except I know that this jug is not what it seems. My two sisters live close to each other, and my brothers-in-law have decided that they want to try making some beer together. So I know that this jug contains a batch of fermenting beer. I hear another hiss, and now my focus shifts to the big rubber cork in the mouth of the jug. When I hear the hiss, I see a little spray of mist and some bubbles pop up in just one spot between the cork and the rim of the jug. Now, I know that the brewing process generates a lot of gas. That's where the carbonation in beer comes from. It is also why beer is not brewed in a completely sealed container. Because if it was, the pressure, growing pressure from all that gas would eventually cause the container to explode. So to prevent an explosion, the big rubber cork in this jug includes this gizmo that should allow it to release excess pressure. But the hiss, the mist, and the bubbles make me think it's not working anymore. And if that's true, then the pressure inside the jug is just continuing to build and build and build. But eventually what happens then is that the whole cork will just pop out, releasing all of the pressure and eliminating any possibility of the jug exploding. And the only consequence of that is that someone's going to have to go look hunting for the cork, because who knows where it's going to land after it pops out. So case closed. I step out of detective mode. I'm done. As I'm busy congratulating myself on my brilliant detective work, I hear another hiss. And for the first time, I notice that someone has secured the cork to the jug using heavy-duty strapping tape. The cork can't pop out. My stomach drops. I'm beginning to panic. I hear another hiss and another and another, and the hisses are starting to merge into one long hiss. The pressure is rising. The cork isn't budging. My panic is growing. I've got to defuse this jug before it explodes. I start desperately searching for something to relieve the pressure with. I grab a letter opener off the table. It's got a nice sharp point. Suddenly, a jet of beer erupts from the top of the jug with a loud whoosh and slams into the ceiling, instantly forming a hyper-local weather system. It is now raining warm beer in the breakfast nook. It is a beer apocalypse. I try covering the top of the jug with my hands. I cannot stop the beer. I'm just forcing it to spray sideways, directly into the walls and to me and everything else. I try to think of something else. I've got nothing. I settle for just cupping my hands over the top of the fountaining beer and trying to redirect as much of it as possible back down towards the table for whatever that's worth. It's over now. All of the pressure, much of the beer, has exited the jug. It's very quiet in the breakfast nook. The only sound is the gentle pitter-patter of beer drops falling from the ceiling. The front half of my body, from my face to around my knees, is drenched in beer. I have beer in my hair. I can feel beer trickling down my back. I look around and I can see that my brothers-in-law were brewing dark amber ale. I know this because I can see it dripping from the ceiling, dribbling down the wallpaper, and puddling it on the table. I'm stunned. I'm just gaping at the fermented, beery mess all around me. But I'm starting to feel rather grumpy. This isn't even my beer. How is it that both of my brothers-in-law managed to be absent when this whole thing blew? And who, I wanted to know, was responsible for the heavy-duty strapping tape? But those questions, answers to those questions, we're going to have to wait. I checked the time. It's 8 a.m. The doorbell rings. It's going to be my new boss right on time to pick me up for work. We're carpooling today. Problem is, I'm not ready to go. I was ready to go. I was completely ready to go, but now I'm drenched in beer. I take a deep breath, collect myself, go downstairs, and open the front door. My boss takes one look at me, catches this enormous whiff of beer, and asks, "What on earth is going on here?" I look him straight in the eye and say, "Your beer just exploded because my new boss is also my other brother-in-law, co-conspirator in this beerpocalypse." We go upstairs, survey the damage. There is beer everywhere on everything in the breakfast nook. Some of this can be left. It's not going to get any worse. But then there's some things like the puddles of beer on the wooden table that we have to clean up before we go. So once we've dealt with all the critical stuff, I go take a shower, which helps cool me off, metaphorically speaking. And as I'm getting dressed and thinking about all of this, I realize, you know what, it was just an accident. It was really no big deal. And the truth is, I'm not really mad at anyone. In the end, my sister, whose breakfast nook took the brunt of the beerpocalypse, thought the whole thing was pretty funny. In fact, everyone thought the whole thing was pretty funny, especially the ones who didn't get drenched in beer.